Where do you find these defaulted pieces of paper we're talking about? Folks, every bank in this country, every mortgage company, every credit union, and every finance company that files foreclosure on a property or that is getting ready to file foreclosure on a property is a candidate to buy discounted paper. I had one call me yesterday. Got what has he got? Got a $28,000 first mortgage on a property worth about $45. Wanted me to go pay him $18 for it. I ain't even went and looked yet. I said, when you get real, call me back. Wanted to sell it to me at a discount. Was offering to sell it to me at a discount. Now, I got to tell you right now that you're going to have to educate some of these banks and so forth because they think you're trying to buy the property. They don't know. Many of them won't know what you mean. You say, I'd like to buy your mortgage. They'll say, well, we don't own the house yet. I say, no kidding. I want to buy your mortgage, not the house. Sign me the paper and give you cash and you're done. But sometimes you have to educate them. Some of them know very well what you're talking about. How will you go about finding them? Isn't it public knowledge when a house gets foreclosed on? Doesn't it record it right at the courthouse? A lot of your cities have a foreclosure service bureau, like Sandy's down in Fort Lauderdale, that you can get the foreclosures delivered to you on a weekly basis. They go down there and check them and they send it to you. They even send it to you on computer disks. Now, every foreclosure that is being done has a lender right in that package. It tells what lender is suing, who the plaintiff is. It tells the amount of the original mortgage, for crying out loud. Most of the time they even have the attorney's phone number in there that is suing. Yes?
The institution begins foreclosure, you buy the paper, do you have to restart from the beginning on foreclosure?
No. You can have the institution assign you the foreclosure process if they've begun it. In fact, you probably just take their attorney and have them continue it. Or if it's fresh and it's brand new, I might just start it all over myself. I prefer to do it myself. But if it's 1 month away from the courthouse steps, I'm going to try to keep the one that's going on, not start all over. Individuals who sold the property and took back the paper are great sources for defaulted paper. Come on, give me a break. A seller sells a house, takes back a mortgage. What do you think the last thing in the world they want to do is? Foreclose on that mortgage. Are you going to find some extremely seriously motivated sellers that are holding paper out there? What kind of a seller do you think would be most motivated? An out-of-towner holding a second mortgage, knowing full well that it's fixing to get wiped out by the first. You see, most of them think they got to go pay off the first to protect their interest. And of course, they don't have the money, so they know they're going to get wiped out anyway. So you come in and offer them 10, 15, 20 cents on the dollar cash for their mortgage and be done with it. And then you go do whatever you know you can do. Depends on the loan to value. If the loan to value is right, you do it. Matter of fact, I got a situation right now. You're going to love this one. I just love getting at these banks. I sold I'll write a book. All the things a bank don't want you to know. I sold a house. It had an $8,000 private mortgage on it, and I went out and got my buyer a $16,000 bank second on it. And they paid on it a few years, and then they let it go into default. And the bank hounded for a while, and finally they let it, and the bank knew they were going to take a big hit on it. They didn't want the property. It was not in a very good area, and needed some repairs. So the bank hadn't done anything. They just let it sit there and even file foreclosure. They don't even want the house. But the first mortgage holder contacted me. Said, Ron, we're not getting paid. I said, what do you want me to do? Buy your note? I said, yeah. So I offered him $4,000 for his first mortgage position. Boy, they jumped all over it. I offered them too much. If they take your offer and they jump all over it, what's that tell you? Pay too much. Anyway, I offered him $4,000 for it, and what I'm going to do is, because there's 7 of them involved, and the assignment has to go all the way around the country, and it'll take forever to get it back. There's 7 family members that own the first mortgage. Whenever I get it back, if I ever do, then I'll simply give them $4,000 for that first mortgage, and I'll foreclose the bank off of the second. I'll file foreclosure, and I'll wind up owning the property back for $4,000 plus the cost of foreclosure. Now, what if the bank pays me off? In fact, I hope they do. There's an $8,000 face value plus a bunch of back due. There's probably $12,000 owed on that first right now. Be tickled to death if they pay me off. Tickled to death. Private lenders. Sometimes private lenders will sell off the paper. Now, are they going to take a discount? Probably not. Probably not. But do private lenders tend to make super low loan-to-value loans? Huh? Yes. In fact, I'm closing one Monday, $10,000 first on a $50,000 house. If that one happened to go into default, which it won't, but if it did, and that private lender didn't want that thing, I'd write a check for face value on that Hummer in a hurry, wouldn't you? Face value, I'd buy that one in a hurry. Yes, Gary?
Why wouldn't you go back and try to buy the second mortgage on that one that didn't want it?
Why should I buy it? I'm going to foreclose it off.
Well, it's going to cost you foreclosing costs. You could probably buy it from them for less than...
Yeah, but there's other liens on the property. You're right, if that weren't true. Okay? Realtors. Are realtors a great source for buying... do realtors know when people are in foreclosure? Huh? In fact, you want to know a neat little trick? How many realtors we got in here? Okay, that will admit it after all this. I don't have anything against realtors. We love realtors. We do a lot of business with realtors. Do realtors know when they're listing a house if it has a private mortgage held by the previous seller on it or some seller down the line? Okay. If you got that information on all the listed houses of privately owned mortgages and just went out and started buying those up at a discount, even though they weren't in default, you buy them at a discount, what's going to happen to that house? The realtor's going to sell it. When the realtor sells it, the loans underneath get paid off at face value, don't they? You following me? In other words, what if we were to buy paper on houses that we happen to know are for sale? We buy it at a discount. As soon as they're sold, they pay us face value. Option the paper? You could do that too, couldn't you? Just option the paper and not even have to come up with the cash, huh? In fact, could this paper business turn into a 5-day, full-fledged, long boot camp? Yes, and many, there are several of them out there that talk about buying discounted paper and the whole work that we're talking about here. We're just touching on it. Question?
Can you just ask your realtor and they have some way of finding out
What?
which properties are private?
Privately held properties? Yeah, you can ask your realtor, and they may know, they may not know. In some states, you can pull it right out of the MLS. By the way, can you pull it up from the tax rolls? These are things that are recorded, you know. You could hire somebody to go down to the courthouse and sit there and look up all privately held mortgages. Most people do that to buy it at a discount. If I was going to do that, I'd have them go down there and look up all the defaulted privately held mortgages. Anything that's been foreclosed on, I want to know how many of them are owned by private owners. In fact, I want to know them all, don't I? Even banks, I'm telling you, they don't want to do these foreclosures. They'd rather, not all of them now. Please don't think that you're going to walk into a bank and get a defaulted piece of paper discounted just because I said so. Some of them will play ball, some of them won't. Like I said, no intelligent life form. Some of them could have 85% loan-to-value ratios and won't discount it a penny. That's their problem. They're going to wind up discounting one way or another, aren't they? You betcha, because they're going to lose money when they get ready to sell the house. But many of them will work with you, especially the finance companies. I find finance companies very easy to work with. They'd rather sell the paper. And I find most banks very easy to work with. I find Fannie Mae lenders difficult to work with. Mortgage brokers, are they a good source of defaulted paper? Huh? What, even private mortgage brokers who make private loans. If you put the word out that you buy mortgages that are in default if they're low loan to value, and that you don't, that may even be at face value, the mortgage broker would rather you come in and buy the paper than to have them put up with the problem of trying to cure the problem. Just because people are mortgage brokers don't mean that they're real estate oriented like us. Any of them in the business of making loans. They don't want anything to do with property. In fact, how many realtors have you ever met? The last thing in the world they'd ever do is buy a house. Isn't that true? Well, if that weren't true, why are they realtors? Title companies. Who orders their title every time something gets foreclosed on? Who searches the title? The title company. The attorney calls over and says, do me a title, do me an abstract for a foreclosure. They're fully aware when one's going into default. They have to do the title work. Attorneys. Nah. Appraisers. Appraisers know when mortgages are in default. They're sent out to do the appraisal work. Run ads. What if you just run ads saying, and I'm sure some of you have seen them, we buy mortgages when they're in default. If you're not receiving payments, call us. We'll pay you cash. You never seen? Oh, I've seen several of them.
I've seen we buy mortgages all the time. There's never anybody in Chicago mentioned anything about default.
Well, then you ought to be the first. Foreclosure services, like I talked about earlier. The courthouse. You could physically hire somebody to search the courthouse records for all foreclosures that are going on. In fact, couldn't they also search for all liens and judgments? And give you a list of them. Could you afford to pay somebody to do that? You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. But you could afford to pay. Who would be a good candidate to do that, by the way? Title company abstractor working for you after hours or on his day off or whatever. They already do it for a living every day. By the way, you will have no trouble at all paying them more than the title companies pay them, because they work for peanuts. The financial newspapers. In every city, there's a newspaper that has all the legal actions that are going on. Here it's called Financial News and Report, or Financial News and Financial News. It's a daily newspaper, comes out Monday through Friday, and has all the legal actions in it. For plaintiffs, everything you want to know.